Well, hello, retro game players. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Marcus, and welcome to my top 10 PSP games from 2005. Let's check them out.
Ridge Racers
PSP
Welcome back to another installment of the top 10 games by console by year. You know, I'm having a good time doing this series, so I hope you guys are digging it. The PSP is one of my favorite systems. It's one of my favorite portable systems, and I know it's weird, but when I was a kid, Sony was an awesome company. I mean, they made amazing televisions, amazing stereos, the Walkman, you know, Discman. They just made really good, high-quality audio and visual products. And when they finally got into making games on the PS1, there was a ton of games that came out that were fun to play. And a lot of people thought that Sony had really impeccable quality from back in the day, and I'm one of those people, with the exception of the PS3 that has exploded on me twice, the fat model. I've had nothing but really good things to say about Sony and their quality. Now, the PSP, this launch year is pretty awesome. I have to say, as far as a launch year goes, this is a really good lineup of games. I mean, if you were to just get these games on this list, you would be pretty solid as far as a collection. Now, coming in at number 10 is a game that I really struggled with because the game itself is actually a remake from 1998, and that is MediEvil. Now, MediEvil, when it first came out on the PlayStation, was really cool. It was actually done by a guy named Chris Sorrell, who worked on the James Pond series, and he wanted to make a game that was similar to Nightmare Before Christmas, and I think actually like more of platforming style to it. That's what this is, and the first game was actually really well received. What I'll say though is that the control and the camera are a little bit hindering, and that's why it's so far down on the list. It's still a cool game, lots of really good voice acting, really funny scripting, and also really pretty good gameplay. I would say the gameplay is actually pretty fun, and just exploring the world is cool. The graphics look really good. It's weird though, I'm going to show you this other game, which I don't normally do, but Death Jr. is a game that's kind of similar, and I really enjoyed the music and some of the gameplay more in this one. But what the deal is that this is a short game. Like, this is less than 4 hours. This one clocks in probably around 10 hours or so. So I guess this is kind of an honorable mention. I liked Death Jr.'s music. MediEvil has kind of a, you know, symphonic score, which is actually really good and pretty haunting at times. So it's not that it's bad. I just kind of liked the other one's style a little bit more at times. And but yeah, I would totally recommend this to you. MediEvil is coming in at 10, and yeah, I think it's a great game. Let's move on to number 9. All right, so the number 9 game on this list is a game that's kind of a blend of an action RPG with some hack and slash going on. And, you know, it's weird because the name sounds kind of similar to another really cool hack and slash game, Gauntlet Legends, that whole series, Gauntlet Legacy. Those are really fun arcade-style adventure games. Well, Sony developed their own style of this kind of a game. However, it's really not arcadey at all. It's an RPG. You can easily sink like 20 hours into it. It's Untold Legends. You initially play as one of 4 classes, including one of my favorites that always pops up is the Berserker. I just love that name, the Berserker. But anyway, 4 different classes, and you can customize them, and then you kind of go on your way. Now, it's a little bit slow at times because these are randomly generated dungeons. So that's kind of cool, but it's also kind of weird at times. But it's actually really fun. I would say that if you can find a friend who still plays PSP, you can play this wirelessly and join together on a mission, and that's really cool. The other thing that's cool is that it's not hard to just progress through this. You know, pretty soon you'll be moving through different enemies and different missions or quests, and you start to progress pretty quick. And I do like the enemy design. I thought the music was pretty good. It definitely is a game that will keep you playing for quite some time, and that's something I really like. So, Untold Legends, this is a really fun game. It's worth checking out if you like these kinds of games. So, yeah, not bad. Check this one out. Let's move on to number 8.
Number 8.
Alright, the number 8 game on this list is a classic arcade-style racing game, and it's been around for a while. In fact, the first game came out on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, and you guys probably know it. It's Burnout Legends. Now, this is an intense game for sure. You basically get to pick from, I think, 5 or 6 different classes of cars, including muscle, sport, compact, that kind of thing. And then there's like 100 cars you can unlock. And the different modes of gameplay sort of keep things fresh. If you start the World Tour mode out, you know, it kind of takes you through the different modes. So there's just like single race, which is pretty normal, where you're racing against other opponents, and the whole point is to definitely get first place or third, or you know, whatever you want to get in the top 3. But essentially you can ram people off the road, cause them to crash. You can slowly give them damage. It can be really fun to just be flying into people. You can time it so you even have like a turbo boost, and as you're going around a corner, if somebody's drifting on the outside, you can time it just right to use your turbo boost and crash into them, and they'll go flying off the road. Every time that happens, the camera slows down and shows you what happened for the wreck itself. But yeah, as you progress, you unlock more cars, and it's actually a pretty good single-player setup. And, you know, I mean, there's even like a pursuit mode where you're a cop. And anyway, it's a really fun racing game. The only reason it's kind of far down on this list is because for me, I feel like it is fun, and it's honestly, the graphics are really good, but it's a little gimmicky. Like over time, I kind of get bored of just the different modes and kind of thrashing people off the roads. But with that said, if you've never played it, this is a great mobile version, and it's got a pretty good soundtrack too, which is normally I wouldn't say that with licensed music, but it's pretty good. So anyway, there you go. That's number 8, Burnout Legends. Let's move on to number 7.
Number 7.
So the number 7 game on this list holds a very special place in my heart, and that's because the original came out as a launch title on the Sony PlayStation 1. And when I first played it, I was blown away. Honestly, the sense of speed, the gameplay, the music, it was just cool. It was a game that was simply cool. I know it sounds weird, but it was one of those games you wanted to have on the PlayStation. And it eventually came out on the Saturn, and the PC version is actually really good too. But later down the road, in fact, this is the 6th game in the series, it's Wipeout Pure. So the gameplay in this game is basically you're a futuristic sort of hovering ship, similar to F-Zero or Extreme G, except Extreme G I think you're these bikes. But anyway, crazy futuristic tracks, jumps, there's power-ups so you can take down your enemies. You know, you have one that you can save at any time, so you know, missiles, all kinds of stuff, shields, that kind of thing, and then also speed boosts like turbos are laying around the track too. You can use the L and R shoulder buttons, which is pretty useful to kind of take corners faster or slower. But yeah, this gameplay is awesome. And as you go, you unlock more tracks, more vehicles, and just the music and the presentation is really solid. It was developed by Psygnosis. That's who made the very first game, except in this, I think they had a different name, or they were renamed or something by Sony. I can't remember. But basically, a really, really good game. I know you guys will not be disappointed if you like racing games and like games like Wipeout. So check this one out. That's why it's number 7. let's move on to number 6.
Number 6.
Okay, the 6th game on this list really needs no introduction at all, and that's because the series is very well known and has been around for a long time. If you don't know this series, you're in for one hell of a treat. It's Twisted Metal Head-On. This was developed by Incognito, the same guys who did Twisted Metal Black on PS2, and I'll tell you what, this is a damn fine version of their series on the PSP. The graphics are really good, the gameplay is all there. If you're not familiar with the gameplay, it's an arena vehicular shooter. You fly around in your car and you have machine guns and you find upgrades, including missiles, rockets. You have a special ability. All the characters are just awesome. Different cool cars. Sweet Tooth is one of the most famous ones. He's the clown driving around in his crazy ice cream truck of doom. And yeah, basically though, the levels are, structured in a way where you want to survive. You want to try and fly around, find all the different spots where weapons regen, including health, and just stay alive and take down as many as you can, and then you'll progress to the next level. The formula has been around for a long time. This style of game, I'll tell you what, the game that I remember playing the most that was like this was Interstate 76. And I played that game on PC so much, you guys. I mean, I have to just throw it out there because it's one of those main old school games that really helped formulate this and make it even better. But what Twisted Metal has always done, I'd say that's particularly well, is make it really kind of having like a metal, theme to it, And the music's good, like I said. Everything about this game is classy. So highly recommend Twisted Metal Head-On. It's also available on other systems, I think PS2. So if you're looking for something, similar and you want to play on a PS2, there is that version too. But for the go, this is a blast to play. So I highly recommend it. That's why it comes in at number 6. And before we move on to 5, I think we have a word from our sponsors. Let's check it out.
There is an evil so powerful, even evil fears it. Apocalypse is upon us. In X-Men Legends 2, you must unite sworn enemies, the X-Men and the Evil Brotherhood. Master their mutant powers, or all will perish. X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse, rated T for teen, now with online gameplay.
Alright, welcome back. We've only got 5 games left, and coming in at 5 is a game that I think any superhero fan will enjoy, and that's because it's Marvel's X-Men 2 Legends, Rise of the Apocalypse. Now, this game is a really solid, and I'm going to pause there, it's a solid action RPG game. You've got, I'd say, 20 hours again, something like 20 hours of gameplay. But basically lots of characters to pick from, and you can battle along with your buddies in Wi-Fi mode if they have a PSP, so it can be multiplayer up to 4 people. If not, you can control 4 X-Men as you kind of go through each level. There's a light punch, a strong punch, or attack, and then also you have your different abilities, which some of your X-Men will be needed to use. You have to use them to get through certain areas, so you'll have to toggle over to Wolverine, for example, or Gambit. But yeah, I mean, there are so many characters in this game, and the voice acting's really solid, pretty good cinematics too. But for a mobile game, this has a lot of replayability. I mean, if you embark on this journey, you will be playing for quite some time, and it's cool because as you play, you unlock different ability points, and you can spend time to kind of go through and pick and choose your favorite characters and level them up, or the system, or the game I should say, will let you distribute them evenly across your party, which is nice because that's a quick thing that can happen. So you can just keep playing, and not really get stuck into how many points should I upgrade here and vice versa. But anyway, it's a solid game. I can't say that enough. I would say that it supersedes the other game that is another Marvel game on the PSP this year, and I'm not really going to talk about that one because it's just not quite as good. But this one is really good, and that's why it's number 5. You will have a blast playing this. If you like any of the X-Men stuff, check this out. You can play as Juggernaut, Wolverine, Gambit. I mean, there's like tons of characters and also lots of enemies too. I mean, they really did a good job with this one. And if you can find a buddy who's got a PSP, play it wirelessly because it'll be a blast. So there you go. That's number 5. Let's move on to number 4. All right, the number 4 game is a game where I'll tell you what, you will find this franchise basically in any Goodwill across America. You're going to find these games for the PS2, no problem, and you're probably going to find them for the PSP. In fact, I found this game sealed in a dual pack with Siphon Filter at a Goodwill. But anyway, it is SOCOM Navy SEALs Fireteam Bravo. This is a really cool tactical style shooter, and you know it's definitely well, it has a mobile version limitation, I would say. So in order to aim, you do have to lock on with the right trigger, and once you lock on, then you can fire with X, and the game, you know, works generally like that. So it can be a little hard to like strafe around and fire, but the gameplay element as far as the mobile version is really good, and that's why this game is up so high. The levels are big, there's lots to do, you can go find intel, and you know, it's really cool. You can have your team do different functions, you can have them, you know, fix things for you, breach doors. There's different ways to complete levels. I always like games like that. And, you know, this is the only military style shooter really on this list, and it's really good. So if you like this series and you like games like this, like, you know, Medal of Honor even, or I don't know, I'm going to throw out a game. How many of you guys have ever heard of Project IGI? It's a PC exclusive. If you have, that's an amazing game. It kind of reminds me of this. But yeah, any of those games like that, SOCOM did it right. And this mobile version is very solid, so I highly recommend it. It does even have some multiplayer options too, which is cool. But yeah, you know, check it out. Number 4, SOCOM Fireteam Bravo. Again, you can find these sometimes locally at your Goodwill, so look around, look hard. And again, you'll find even the PS2 versions just sitting out. So, okay, we have 3 games left on the list. I don't know, what are they? Let's move up to number 3. All right, only 3 games on this list remain, and I must say I'm very proud of this number 3 entry because it's one that I have always been into. I love fighting games, and even more than fighting games, I love 2D fighting games. And this one is a Capcom game that's actually a Japanese Dreamcast port. And if you can believe it, it's DarkStalkers Chronicle: The Chaos Tower. Now this is a compendium of 5 of the games up before this, and it includes all the characters. You can choose the different combo systems and fighting systems from each game, including the soundtracks. I mean, this thing is packed with content. My favorite thing on this is that anybody can pick it up and play. You can pick it up and play because it's basically like Street Fighter 2, except with amazing graphics, I must say, and a darker theme, monsters, you know, and that kind of thing. I mean, I love that stuff. But yeah, pick it up and play. It's got the light, medium, and fierce attacks for punches and kicks, and then all the classic special moves. But then it has a pretty cool combo system that you can kind of either play from one of the previous games, so you can actually choose which one you like the most and go with that style. Lots of care went into this game, and I love that for it. You can play 2 players wirelessly with somebody else, which is definitely really cool. But yeah, it also has this feature, the Chaos Tower, where you pick 3 characters and you go through this level where each thing is a different fight, and you have to kind of keep all your guys healed, and it's actually really cool. I couldn't stop playing that mode alone. But yeah, if you guys haven't played this, check it out because it's one of the coolest 2D fighters, and it just looks gorgeous. It runs great on the PSP. The backgrounds are phenomenal. So this is back when Capcom was kicking ass, and that's no joke. So there you go. That's number 3. There's only 2 games left. We got to get it done. Let's move on to number 2. All right, we only have 2 games left, and the next 2 are pretty awesome. And I'd say this one is one of my favorites on the system. It's one that I must have with me because I've learned to really enjoy the gameplay. Now, I say that because the original series started back in like 93, I think it was, in the arcades. And then 94, 95, it was on the PlayStation 1. That's really the first time I played it. I couldn't really get the hang of the main mechanic of drifting in the game. But I must say, by the point where this one came out, 2005, they've got it fixed. This game is amazing. It's fun to play. It's got an arcade feel. It's Namco's Ridge Racer, and oh man, I'll tell you what, this has some amazing sense of speed, and once you get the hang of the drifting mechanic, you'll be tearing up the tracks, which there's like 12 different tracks, so, and I think it actually has them reversed again, so it kind of gives you, you know, a double that, but really 12 unique tracks. They're taken from the old games. The music is awesome. It's from the whole collection of, you know, all the old past games too. And I'll tell you though, the sense of speed in this is so satisfying. And you know, you also have these 3 turbo meters that as you do things like slide around corners and do your drifting, they fill up. And then what'll happen is once one's full, you can use it, and as you go, that tank is depleted. You can never fill it up again. So basically, in each race, you have the ability to earn 3 different turbos. And yeah, but what you can do though is you can use the turbo kind of before a corner, and then that way you can do like an ultimate boost, which helps refill the next turbo bar. Oh man, but this is a classic racing game. High speeds, and just really fun. Like, great graphics, really great gameplay. I can't recommend it enough. Ridge Racer, it's one of those staples that has just really stood the test of time. And the PSP, man, it's a great version. So there you go. That's number 2. Let's move on. We've only got 1 left. What can it be? Let's check it out. All right, wow, that was 9 awesome games we just covered. I recommend all of those, but there can only be one that makes the top of this list. And I'll tell you a little bit of background on this series. I was lucky enough to play the original back on PC way back in the late 90s using my old 3D effects video card. And eventually came out on PlayStation 1, which is an also a really good game. But it's the Grand Theft Auto series, and this one is Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. This is an amazing Grand Theft Auto game. I'll tell you, the very first one with its top-down style, that was really fun and very innovative. It actually had like a retro throwback at the time when that game first came out. And then the sequel, they added like dynamic lighting. I wasn't the biggest fan of that game for some reason, and then the third game was when they went 3D, and that is known as Grand Theft Auto 3, and it was where you were in New York. I love that game. I did beat it on the PC, but this is kind of like that, more so than Vice City, you know, or any of the other following games like San Andreas. It's super good. There's like 70 missions or something. Plus, you can just kind of run around and cause chaos like you can in any Grand Theft Auto game. But what's so cool about this is just the scale of it running on the PSP. And the soundtrack is spot on. You have 10 radio stations. They're all awesome. I mean, if you want to spend some time on your PSP, this thing is just amazing. I don't know how long it would take the average person to beat this from start to finish, but I would say like maybe 15 hours. But that's just kind of going through the missions. I mean, that's not playing around trying to get your rating up with the cops and finding all the different stuff. So anyway, I just think it's cool that Grand Theft Auto has made an appearance on the PSP. It's an excellent launch title, and that's why it's coming at number 1. So there you go, guys. That's the top 10 list of 2005 on the PSP. man, 2006 is insane. I mean, the PSP just rolled out games. It was crazy. So what do you guys think of this list? Was there any from that year that you'd want to add? Let me know. There's more videos like this coming. I'm working on another series right now. So thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate it. Play your PSP, and you know what to do, right? Until next time, you're going to keep that shit retro by playing Grand Theft Auto on the go on the PSP later on.